Alright, so welcome back everyone to Higurashi no Nakokoro Kai desu. We did a lot last time. We did about 3 chapters. Shion met Satoshi and fell in love with him, and it was really cute, but then things went bad really quickly, which, we all knew was going to happen. But Shion, pretty much entirely blames Satoko. One of my deductions was correct in where I thought that Shion was Mion during the second book at some points. And it was confirmed because the conversation Satoshi had, which was similar to Keiichi's, was said to Shion, not Mion. So we can 100% confirm that at that time, Keiichi was talking to Shion and not Mion, which means that Shion was probably taking over as her sister for who knows how long, and is the one that murdered Satoko and Rika, which makes a lot more sense now because she hated Satoko. She clearly hates Satoko here, and she doesn't seem to have any problem being really, really mean towards pretty much anyone, to be perfectly honest. So I can see just a switch snapping, honestly. Put my hair up. It's hot. It is hot and mushy. Mushatsui desu yo. So, let's see what else happened. That's pretty much just what happened. But no, she was pretty vicious. She went to school and, Satoshi was, not happy with whatever Mion did. I'm not sure what Mion did, but Mion did something. And, so he was very hostile towards Shion because of whatever Mion did. I know it's very confusing. Anyways, so, yeah, but then she walked back into the classroom and Satoko was, crying because a lunchbox got knocked over, which wasn't really a big deal, and then Shion just kind of flipped, or, let the emotions get the best of her, though. Mion didn't really seem to care, although I'm thinking that maybe she does actually care, in the background. She's just not saying it because it's her sister. They do seem to actually genuinely care for each other, at least so far. Mion is giving up a lot of time for Shion, which has got to be hard to do. Alright, so let's continue. So we should be getting to the Watanagashi pretty soon. And we all know we already know what happens. So. The day of the Watanagashi Festival, June 20th, 1982, 1:40 p.m. What was I doing today? Nothing in particular. Nothing at all. I just wanted to play hooky. I woke up in the afternoon. I ate instant food for lunch while watching boring TV programs. I had a light headache, so I lay down on the sofa. I wouldn't wake up again if I went to sleep. Whatever. I decided to sleep. I'd already told Sis that Satoshi had asked her to look after Satoko. I didn't have to do anything myself. I fell asleep, though my head was aching a little bit. That would be all I'd have to deal with. Should regret that. June 20th, 1982, 5:02 p.m. The aunt believed that all the villagers frowned upon her because her brother-in-law and his wife were pro-dam activists. She surely experienced some fallout during the time of the dispute. But people had stopped looking coldly upon her, even though she assumed otherwise. She was paranoid, believing that all the villagers hated her, and so she decided to hate them back. Her attitude, of course, begot hatred from the villagers, and the situation became exactly the way she thought it was from the start. What came first? Their poor relationships with the neighbors, or her husband's affair? She didn't know herself. Her husband claimed that he got a lover because he was fed up with her attitude. She, in turn, claimed that their relationship with the neighbors went sour because her husband had damaged their reputation. Only Satoshi was aware that both happened at almost the same time. Their quarrels had become a daily routine now. When the husband came home late, the wife would shout at him at the entrance. Satoshi wondered why they didn't get a divorce, their marriage being as rotten as it was. But he secretly knew the reason for that too. It was the fortune his parents had left. His aunt had hidden their bank book and stamp and never allowed her husband access to them. So her husband would search the house for them. She'd find out he'd stolen money from her purse. This would cause yet another fight. Satoshi had never been aware that his parents had that much money when they were alive. After their death, however, one of his relatives told him. He was informed that his parents had left a large sum of money in some bank account. Satoshi couldn't understand why they had that kind of money, because he knew his family had been, as far as he knew, poor. It was because of the dam project. His parents probably gotten money in return for their cooperation with the government. They had strived to get more villagers on their side, provided information to them and whatnot. The money was probably compensation for their efforts. His aunt and uncle had never intention to adopt them until they heard about the money. After someone from the financial institution revealed its existence, they appeared to adopt Satoko and Satoshi. The couple would fight every day. Eventually, Satoshi's uncle started spending more time at his mistress's home. He realized that he had no reason to return to his own home, because he'd just end up in a fight with his wife if he did. When he stopped coming home, Satoshi felt relieved. Neither the uncle nor the aunt treated the two siblings very well. Satoshi's aunt wouldn't have to vent her frustration upon them. The reason couple fought was their corrupted relationship. So if they separated, there wouldn't be any more fights. Satoshi had thought that at first. But even after they separated, his aunt had a short temper. Another woman had stolen her husband. The villagers must have been talking behind her back. It was mortifyingly embarrassing. Since she lost an opponent to fight, Satoshi's aunt directed her hatred towards his siblings. Satoshi had been observing her. He learned when she would get upset and how to avoid her attention. He managed to get by without upsetting her, but turning a keen eye to her behavior and avoiding conflicts. But Satoko couldn't do that. She hated her aunt and didn't even try to hide it. Satoshi told her to behave in her aunt's presence, but her eyes were always filled with hatred. Satoshi strived to reduce the conflict between them as much as possible. He stepped in to mend their relationship. It was a heavy burden for him, though, because he was still just a boy. He bore so much. He covered for his little sister by lying, maneuvering. He tried to maintain a tangible sense of peace. But he couldn't do that forever. The relationship between Satoko and her aunt had already spiraled out of control. Satoshi found something in the trash. It probably wasn't a legitimate place for a trash disposal. If it was, sanitation workers would come and pick it up. He passed by the street all the time, so he noticed when there was new things dumped there. He'd found a plain-looking desk, of the kind likely to be seen in offices. Somebody must have dumped it within the past few days. His aunt liked to bring useful trash home. She'd had Satoshi help him bring home a chest just a few days ago. If he told her about the desk, she'd want it. His aunt hated to find bugs and garbage in the drawers. So she'd always open them to check before carrying the thing home. Satoshi opened all the drawers, all of which were empty. After that, he turned around and walked for about 5 steps. He was standing in a knee-high bush. There, he laid something he'd been carrying all the time until today. It'd be very hard to find unless you specifically knew it was there to begin with. Looking satisfied, Satoshi looked around for some landmark to remember the place by. Man, it's like KG's again. like verbatim, which is weird. June 20th, 1982, 5:51 p.m. Hey, old pal. I see you showed up again this year. You'd better get ready for us. You're as peppy as ever. Is she a newcomer? Uh-huh. This is Ryuga Reina. Don't underestimate her. She's good. No, I'm not. Nice to meet you. Yo, you two. I brought all kinds of prizes this year. They'll be a real battle to win. Try and take them with you if you can. Reina tends to dote on cute stuff. Yeah, that stuffed animal looks like just her type. What? Oh, so cute. You want to take it home? Hey, the booth isn't open yet. Whoa! Stop it, Reina. He says the booth isn't open yet. You can run into him into the ground once he opens it up. It's mine! I'm taking it home! Reina lost her marbles over the stuffed animal. Everybody laughed. Except Satoko. She was standing by herself some distance from the crowd. Her eyes looked dull. What is it, Rika? Rika walked up to Satoko, smiling ear to ear in an effort to cheer her up. Forget your worries today. Let's just have fun. Satoko looked down. Even if she got to have fun today, her circumstances at home wouldn't change. Satoko, your evil aunt isn't around. I know that. So why don't you have fun? Ba. Meepa. Sorry, but I don't feel like it. Could you just leave me alone? Why aren't you smiling? Satoko sulkily glimpsed at Rika. She gave her a look, as though she wanted to say that Rika should know the reason. Even if she could have fun today, nothing would change between her and her evil aunt. No matter how fun the festival was, once she went home, her aunt would be there. The aunt would find something wrong with Satoko, get mad, shout at her so loudly that the neighbors would hear. How can she have fun, even just for today, while knowing all that? Satoko didn't say that out loud, but her eyes betrayed her emotions to Rika. So, Satoko, if your suffering ends today, will you smile? Satoko gasped. She thought that Rika might do something to help. Oh yeah, because Rika already knows. But soon after, she realized that Rika was just trying to comfort her. Could her suffering end today because of Rika? How? Satoko knew there was really nothing Rika could do. And so, after just one moment of freedom, Satoko fell into depression again. Rika, don't give me false hope. Satoko? Rika's voice was clearer than Satoko had ever heard before. It's already been decided. June 20th, 1982, 8:11 p.m. Satoshi snuck out the window after supper. He heard the distant ruckus of the festival. The festival would end at 9. After the Watanagashi ceremony, there was going to be a raffle drawing. So there were two types of people in Hinamizawa. The people who would go home for dinner, and the ones who would stay until after the raffle. Either relaxing at home or still at the festival, there was only those two patterns. On top of that, There weren't many neighbors in the vicinity of Satoshi's house. As a result, he found nobody on the streets. On that night, the small village seemed especially desolate. Satoshi knew it was going to be like this. But he would keep worrying until he saw it for himself. He was barefooted, but started running without hesitation. He felt as though he'd become a wild animal, running on his bare feet. He got the impression he could run faster than usual. Not only his running ability, his vision, his hearing, and his sense of smell. All his senses were keener, including his sixth sense. He could almost sense the presence of people in the distance, if only one crouching like an animal. It felt strange, as though he had stepped into another world. He'd been feeling tense and anxious until today, battling with his own fear. But now, he felt as though he metamorphosed into a different person. June 20th, 1982, 8:37 p.m. All right, everyone. I'm going to explain how the raffle works. Please gather around the altar. The festival had reached its climax. The raffle was going to start. Both the women who were dancing and those who were waiting for the raffle gathered around the altar. This was the first time they'd held a raffle. The planning committee decided to hold one from this year onward to attract more people to the festival. At first, the prizes were things the committee members had donated, but Oryo, not appreciating how pathetic they looked, had thrown them away. Oryo took the initiative and brought a brand new TV, a washing machine, a cooling fan, and other such things for the raffle. The committee wanted to keep it small initially, but it turned out to be big thanks to her. Oryo was upset because the committee members weren't enthusiastic enough in her opinion. Some of the members thought it would be very difficult to prepare prizes of equal value the following year, so this might be the very first and last raffle. Thanks to you, we have such wonderful prizes this year, Oryo-san. They must have cost a lot, didn't they? We can reimburse you from our budget. Buffoon! No point in reimbursing that. It was never about the money. Idiots. Now, don't say that. This raffle's all thanks to you, Oryo-san. It's not like I'm doing this by myself. Don't be ridiculous. The mayor, Kimiyoshi, was having a tough time pacifying Oryo. All of a sudden, one of the committee members burst into the tent in a rush. He looked upset, so Kimiyoshi assumed that somebody probably got hurt in an accident. What's going on, Makino-san? I hope you're not having a heart attack. Kimiyoshi made a joke to calm him down. Makino, however, looked tense. He whispered something to Kimiyoshi. Even without hearing the exchange between Makino and Kimiyoshi, it was plain as day there was bad news. Oryo-san, I have unpleasant news if you don't mind. Kimiyoshi, accompanied by Makino, moved to Oryo's side and spoke in a very serious tone. Kimiyoshi whispered to her the exact words Makino told him. Oh dear, this is bad. Ain't unexpected. What happens thrice will happen a fourth time. That's not funny, Oryo-san. You're right, it isn't. It's just another hassle. The police are trying to identify the body. I heard the face was completely destroyed, so it'll be difficult. It's quite clear who it is, though, isn't it? Huh? Do you know who it might be? Oryo glared at Kimiyoshi, then started chuckling. Idiot. It must be some impudent lad who didn't come to the Watanagashi festival. People who don't respect Oyashiro-sama won't get involved in something like that. My thought right now is that Oryo seems like she knows that it's Satoshi, but it's probably not. It's probably his aunt, right? And it seems like she wanted it to happen. It's like she knows, like impudent lad who didn't come to the festival. Oh my god, she's so fucking evil. Alright, Oreo kept laughing. Kimiyoshi and Makino didn't know how to react. June 20th, 1982, 9:04 p.m. This is merciless. Oh. Kuma-chan, every death is merciless, unless the dead wish for it. They have my condolences. How's it going over there? Did you find something that could identify the body? The forensic investigators shook their heads. The victim's wearing sandals and casual clothes. They must be from this neighborhood. We should be able to identify the corpse by asking around. That's the way we do it. The section manager says this case might become classified, so be careful. Gotcha. Kumagai gathered some officers and gave them directions. Dr. Irie has arrived. Doctor, it's over here. A young doctor got out of his car and headed in the victim's direction. Hello. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. I had to help with the raffle. You must have drunk a lot at that festival, Doctor. Are you sure you're sober? Maybe I should run a breathalyzer test on you just to be safe. I'm fine. My assistant is driving. Clever of you. Or let the doctor pass. There was an area cordoned off with blue plastic sheets. An officer rolled up the sheet and let Oishi and Irie pass. The forensic people were taking photos from many different angles. The blood spatters, the bloody sandals left untouched, marked with chalk and indicated with small alphabetized plates. I'm not used to seeing things like this. Irie took out a handkerchief and covered his nose. You should breathe through your mouth. Well, you might sense the smell visually, though. The body appeared to be that of a middle-aged woman. It was soaked in blood. It looked like a middle-aged woman because of the hair and what she was wearing. The reason why no one could be certain it was a middle-aged woman was because its face was completely pulverized. Wouldn't she have boobies? This is brutal. I'm sure it was done out of malice. The victim must have been murdered right here, judging from the pattern of blood spatters and soles of the sandals. And even though not many people take this road, the body is right in the middle of it. It's very unusual to see a culprit who would bludgeon their victim until face completely destroyed. Also, can you look at her arms? Or she put on latex gloves and lifted the corpse's arm. See? Spotless, aren't they? Are you saying that the victim didn't try to protect her head? There's no sign of struggle. Right you are. I think the victim lost consciousness with the first blow. Then, the culprit kept beating to complete the murder. The victim was probably lying down, face down at the time, judging from the strain on her clothes. The body's face up now. The culprit seems to have flipped the victim over in order to smash her face, even though by that point her death was certain. Irie looked like he was going to throw up, both because of the putrid smell and Oishi's reasoning. So I just want to point out some differences here, so we can all love Keiichi a little bit more. Satoshi brutalized his aunt. I mean, yes, Keiichi also brutalized the uncle, but not to this extent. Like, what are you talking about? It's only 9 p.m. Also, hi, Scott. And tomorrow's Saturday. Anyways, as I was saying, so, like, I think Satoshi's murder came from more... Still 9 p.m., which is not that late. Anyways. My bedtime is like 11 usually. Anyways, so Satoshi's murder was clearly because of hatred, and Keiichi's was a little bit too, but it was more to protect Satoko than out of hatred, which I think Satoshi's was more selfish. Anyways. Smashing the victim's face is clearly a sign of a grudge in my experience. It's a very profound grudge, too. That means the culprit must be someone very close to the victim. I understand you didn't call me to resuscitate her. Doctor, do you know who the victim is? If you do, I don't have to waste time questioning the neighbors. Irie looked at the body once again. He looked away quickly and thought. Then after a while, Irie left the investigation area without saying anything. He probably knows who it is, but doesn't want to say. I'm sorry. I don't know. Ugh. Are you sure? Oh, she smirked and looked into Irie's eyes, as though Irie was hiding something. I'm not hiding anything. I guess you're still under the influence, Doctor. Maybe you'll remember when you're sober. Let me know if you do. When she tapped Irie on the back. Also, Satoshi was a lot more stupid than Keiichi. So, that lets us like our hero even a little bit more, and Keiichi's pretty damn stupid sometimes, so that's saying something. Because Keiichi didn't leave her in the frickin' middle of the road where anyone could find him. The doctor, saying he wanted some fresh air, left the scene. Kumagai returned. Oishi, the section manager's on the radio. The one in the first car. Irie lied. Huh? Nothin'. Hurry up and question the neighbors. The victim must be from this area. June 20th, 1982, 9:39 p.m. Here he is. Oishi! Thank you for coming here this late at night. I know you have school tomorrow. I'm real sorry to bother you. Oh, shit. No problem. Where's your father? My stepfather doesn't come home much. Uh-huh. Since when? When did he come home last? I don't know. I heard he's living with a woman who works at a club in Okinomi or something. I don't remember exactly when, but I guess I saw him a few weeks ago. Uh-huh. Do you have your father's address? No. He's living with a woman who works at a club? Do you know the name of the place? No. I know it's in Okinomi, that's all. What's your father's name? Hodotepe. Oishi signaled Kumagai with his chin, who nodded while taking notes. Were your mother and father getting along well? I don't know much about that, but I don't think so. I see. I want you to tell me honestly, do you know anyone who might have been holding a grudge against your stepmother? I don't. Why wouldn't you say your uncle? Alright. Please let me know if you remember something. Here's my card. My number's on it. Okay. I might ask to see you again for further inquiries. And if you see your stepfather, please let him know that we want to contact him. Kuma, drive him home, will you? No. I can go home myself. Please, let us drive you home. There's a possibility the culprit who murdered your aunt is roaming around the neighborhood. You might get hurt too. Thank you. But, really, I'm fine. Satoshi tried to reject the offer, but Oishi and Kumagai insisted. In the end, Satoshi was forced to accept. He turned around to leave, when Oishi spoke to him as if he remembered something he'd forgotten to say. Hojo-san! Yes? Don't worry. It's no problem. We'll catch the culprit soon. Do you have any leads? Uh-huh, we do. Like what? That's confidential. Ordinary people might think that Oishi was trying to cheer the poor kid up with a joke. Well, usually people get pretty worked up when they commit murder, though of course there are some exceptions. What kind of evidence do you find when the culprit's worked up? When someone is in a very excited condition, their body shows many symptoms, like sweat, loss of hair. I can't tell what this face is. It looks like tired, to be perfectly honest. We often find the culprit's hair at crime scenes. Well, this is outside, so it's a bit different, but still. Did you find their hair? I don't know yet. The forensic guys are searching the scene right now. I'm anxious to see what they'll bring me. Excuse me, I have to go now. Please, come up, would ya? Sure. See you again soon, Hojo. I'll let you know if there's any progress in the investigation. Let me know when you remember something. Let's cooperate to catch that murder of your stepmom. Or she totally knows. Like 100%. So I don't know why you wouldn't say that the uncle did have... Sis called me in the morning after the Watanagashi festival to tell me the curse had struck again for the 4th time. The victim was the evil aunt who was harassing Satoshi and Satoko. Satoshi's suffering should be over now since the problem was with Satoko and the aunt's relationship to begin with. Maybe I should have celebrated, but I wasn't in the mood for some reason. Did the police have a lead on the suspect? Sis went quiet when I asked that. I don't know. Oishi seems to be questioning people in the neighborhood. He thinks it's someone close to the victim. Being identical twins, Sis and I think very much alike. If I suspected Satoshi of being the murderer, so would she. Because of this, I didn't have to mention the obvious. Does Satoshi have an alibi for the day? I don't know. I heaved a huge sigh. Are you stupid? He was at the festival. Didn't you see him there? See, and this is what they did to Keiichi as well. They were all like, we saw you at the festival, to give him an alibi when he did it. This is explaining everything. Yeah, right. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. I heaved another sigh. Sis was stupid enough to forget to make an alibi for him, even though the murder of his aunt alone would raise enough suspicion. So that means he did do it? That's not important now. The problem is whether he has an alibi or not. Well, the police are going to come here later. I'll tell them I was at the festival. Sis, lying out of the blue like that won't work. If you haven't done anything to ensure his alibi, it's too late now. Please just be honest with them. I can't trust your acting skills. You might raise more suspicion if you make something up on the spot. Yeah, sorry. She sounded depressed. I was the one who should have been depressed. Mion usually handles things well, but she's not good with emergencies. I was left worried for the future of the Sonozaki family. Mion must have been embarrassed. She soon changed the subject. I guess you haven't been able to work lately, have you? You're right, I haven't. Thanks to you. Oh, sorry. I'll hide somewhere until tonight, so maybe you can work today? Sis has been appearing in public places during festival preparations and whatnot. As a result, I hadn't been able to pretend to be her. I hadn't been able to work. As someone who had to support myself, it was a bit of a pain. To be honest, I didn't feel like working, but I couldn't afford to be sitting around either. When I locked my apartment door before leaving, the next apartment opened, and Kasai appeared.
Shion, you heading out?
Yeah, I'm going to work since Sis gave me time until tonight. Can you give me a ride?
Shion, won't be safer for you to take a few days off. The police seem to be staking at the main house. I don't think it's a good idea to leave.
I appreciate your concern, but I have to make money to survive.
Kasai might suggest you donate money to my cause.
However, I had sworn to myself when I started living here that it wouldn't depend on Kasai. While I don't obey anyone else's rules, I stick to my own. Kasai could tell I was adamant in my decision. So after repeating himself a couple of times as formal procedure, he decided to give me a ride after all. Every time we went to my uncle's store by car, we stopped at this traffic light. I knew it was going to happen, but it still irritated me. Pedestrians passed by in front of the car. I was startled to see that one of them looked like Satoshi-kun. It was him. Though I'd spoken with him on the phone just a couple of days before, it'd been a while since I saw him last. Kasai, sorry, but could you tell my uncle I can't come today? I'm getting off here.
What? Shion?
Kasai looked taken aback, but I got out of the car regardless. The light turned green. The car behind him honked while Kasai was shouting at me, so he had started to move. Satoshi was on his bike, but he was going really slowly. I caught up with him in a flash and tapped him on the back. Hello. I'm surprised to see you in Okonomiya, Satoshi-kun. If I talked to him with a smile, he might smile back. So I smiled as brightly as I could.
Mion.
He looked tired as always, but I could tell he was trying to smile back. My worry suddenly disappeared. I was certain I looked happy. I was aware of that myself, so it must have been obvious to Satoshi-kun.
I don't know the circumstances, but you look happy.
I am. I'm happy because you look happy.
When I teased him, he looked a bit embarrassed.
It was like we were back in the good old days. I even felt happier than before. What's going on? Did something good happen?
Not really. My aunt died and I have to deal with the police and the neighbors.
I might have asked something dumb. He seemed to be okay with it, though. He frowned a bit at first, but Satoshi continued smiling gently. He looked worn out, but satisfied, like he had accomplished something great. That was the mood I sensed from him, so I was convinced. The one who killed that wicked aunt who tormented Satoka was him. I had absolutely no proof, but I knew it intuitively. So I admitted to all those questions. I knew Satoshi-kun's motive for killing his aunt, and how badly he was driven into a corner. I knew the environment and the situation he was in. And I knew Satoshi-kun's feelings. I knew all of that. So I admitted all those questions. I wanted to celebrate his release from that curse, so I smiled like nothing was different as I asked. Where are you going? To work?
That's right. I have to make a stop before that, though.
A stop?
I have to make sure it's still there, or otherwise I'll continue feeling really anxious.
The conversation reminded me. The reason he started his part-time job was to buy Satoko a huge teddy bear. It was being sold at the toy store just down the street. I recalled that teddy bear was very expensive. Satoko's birthday was right after the festival. I wasn't sure what day, though. Wait, didn't he say he quit his job? Maybe he was going to greet his ex-coworkers and clean out his locker or something. Either way, he'd be completely free very soon. Maybe he hadn't been paid yet. That's why he wanted to check if they still had the teddy bear. Maybe he was only getting paid on Satoko's birthday. When we got near the toy store, he rushed to the display window. He looked relieved it hadn't been sold yet. Good. All right. It's still there. You've earned enough money already, haven't you? Why don't you reserve it? Huh? He probably hadn't thought of that. He really did need someone to look after him. I looked into the display window over his shoulder. The teddy bear wasn't that cute, in my opinion. It looked huge and cramped in the middle of the store's showcase. Really, it looked like more like a display model than an item for sale. I don't see a price tag. Is that really for sale? How much is it? Yeah, I'm sure they sell it. What about the price? Does it fit your budget? It's alright, I already checked. Satoshi thought I was teasing him again. He pouted and looked a little sulky. There's no problem then. Why don't you go reserve it now? Then you won't have to feel anxious anymore. We entered the store and looked for a clerk. Is anybody here? Nice. Maybe you can get it without paying. No, Mion. Stealing's bad. I'm just kidding. Trying to make you laugh. Do you think I'd really do that? No, sorry. Satoshi smiled apologetically. I puffed up my cheeks to tease him. It had really been a while since we last did this. In between those times, many undesirable things happened that I wanted to forget. But now I felt as all those things simply vanished into air around us. I found an old person napping in the back. He must be the clerk, I thought. He looked to be fast asleep. Excuse me, you work here, right? I poked his shoulder, but he didn't look like he was going to wake up. When I did that, a middle-aged woman wearing an apron came in. Grandpa, you fell asleep again. We have customers. I'm really sorry, you two. He's been very flaky, you know. The middle-aged woman shook the old man awake and told him to go back into the living room. She went to the cash register after that. That was so embarrassing. So, how can I help you? I'd like to reserve something. That big teddy bear in the display window? Oh, that one? Are you sure? That one's really expensive. You know that, right? Yes. I think I have enough. He'll get paid really soon, so he'd like to reserve it. The woman looked a bit hesitant at first, but she eventually wrote down Satoshi's name and accepted the reservation. Satoshi received a slip of paper. See? You don't have to worry about the teddy bear anymore. Yeah. I'll get paid soon, too. I feel relieved now. He would have kept coming to check every day if he hadn't done this now. He would have spent his time needlessly worrying. Satoshi looked very relieved indeed. I should have done it sooner. Usually people do that right away when they want something. It's very rare for somebody not to think of that. It's so very fun to tease him. Those painful days seem unbelievable now. Satoshi looked like he'd forgotten about everything that happened up until yesterday. Anyway, thanks. Satoshi held out his hand to touch my head. Was he going to stroke it? I felt my face reddening already. Even before he touched my head, I felt tingly, remembering the last time. I didn't care about the murder or whatever else happened. As long as Satoshi had his freedom, everything would be all right. I'd be content as long as we could live happily from today onward. But Satoshi's hand never reached my head. I slowly opened my eyes, only to realize the situation had drastically changed. There were 4 men in suits blocking our way. It looked as though they'd been waiting for us to exit the store. Hello, hello. The oldest of the 4 men stepped forward while smirking. I never met this man, but it looked like he knew both Mion and Satoshi. He was probably a cop. I ran for search for information in my head and found some right away.
Good to see you both, Hojo and Sonozaki. I'm sorry to bother you at a time like this.
This must be Kurado Oishi, the cop who's investigating the series of mysterious deaths. He thinks the Sonozaki family's behind all the cases. In other words, he's an enemy of the Sonozaki family. He has deep connections with other investigation divisions in the police force and likes to nose around in businesses in this area. He annoys the Sonozaki family enough as it is by interfering with its Yakuza business, let alone his suspicions on the series of mysterious deaths. Naturally, as the family's successor, he's not a welcome figure to me on Sonozaki. I tried to imagine how Sis would react. Oh, Oishi-san. Thank you for working hard for our safety. The four of you want something from the toy store? A doll, maybe? I know what they want, and it's not a toy. It's probably not me either. They want Satoshi. I took a look at Satoshi. He seemed a bit uncomfortable. The other three cops loosely surrounded us to prevent our escape.
Hojo, I'd like to talk to you about something.
What for? Are you taking them to the station? You don't have to go with them, Satoshi. Let's get out of here. I pushed on his shoulder, but he just stood there, looking pale and bewildered. Bewildered? No. He actually looked resigned. Then, I recalled Sis's mistake. It's obvious that he killed his aunt from the circumstances. You don't even have to look at the crime scene. How could Mion have failed to create an alibi? That stupid Mion must have spoken to the police without making anything up at all. She must have told them that not told them she knew where Satoshi was. If she hadn't done anything, the villagers wouldn't work to help her. It was just a matter of time until the police uncovered Satoshi's complete lack of alibi. The police were trying to corner him, lead him to confess. I looked at Satoshi's face once again. He looked like a dead man. He probably didn't know he could refuse to be interrogated. If he was taken to the station and grilled by Oishi, he'd confess in a minute. Somebody had to protect him. Nobody had ever been there for him. I had to step up now. But how? Would it be possible to alter what Mion had already said? Saying it was a mistake? That wasn't going to work. If I had more time, I'd come up with an excellent idea. But I didn't have much time at all. To pressure him, the cops were drawing nearer. Satoshi must have felt intimidated. He might end up turning himself in due to the pressure while I'm stuck. Trying to come up with something. I have to do something now. I have to say something. Otherwise, Satoshi might give in. I have to save him. Oishi drew nearer. Satoshi fell back.
It won't take much time. Come on, don't be scared.
It won't take much time? He just said it. He just said he wouldn't let him out if he caught him now. Satoshi, don't give in. If you give in now, everything you work for will be ruined. Satoshi looked like he was at his breaking point, or she was clearly aware of it. Oishi smirked and held out his hand to grab Satoshi's shoulder. I felt electrified when I saw that. That hand shouldn't be allowed to touch him. The moment Oishi touched his shoulder, he'd give in. He'd go to the police and confess everything. Don't you want to know his alibi?
Huh?
Oishi turned his face towards me, his hand left hanging in the air. I wasn't prepared. I just had to stop him, no matter what. I only needed to gain time. It didn't really matter what I said. That's right. I want to get Hojo's sorry, wrong person.
We must not be doing our jobs. We can't seem to confirm his whereabouts at the time of the crime. It's shameful, but we decided to question him in person.
You don't have to ask him. I can confirm his alibi.
Huh? Really? Well, that helped. You already told me you were at the festival that night, and many people can confirm it. It'd be easier if we could confirm that Hojo was with you. But I don't think you mentioned him when I questioned you last time, did you? Are you going to change your statement? Even though no one at the festival saw Hojo with you, are you going to tell me he was with you?
That's right. He was with me. Wouldn't that be enough?
I know you were there with your other friends. I saw it. Maybe she'll say she's Shion. Are you saying that you were with him? Isn't that a little too hard to believe? Isn't it? Oishi approached me with a creepy smile. Was he teasing me because my excuse sounded funny? I didn't think so. He was frustrated due to being interrupted when he was about to catch a big fish. Are you saying you forgot that you were with him, but just now remembered you actually were? Mion Sonozaki-san. I did get a little scared, but I couldn't stop myself. I could save Satoshi if I revealed my real identity. I was aware of the risk. Grandma would certainly capture me if I revealed it. I didn't think of the consequences after that.
I'm not Mion Sonozaki. I didn't go to the Watanagashi festival in the first place.
Huh?
Satoshi and I were talking in a restaurant in Okonomi at that time. The name of the place is Angel Mort. You confirm that with the owner if you want.
Or she was still smirking, but he apparently felt confused. What are you saying? If you aren't Mion, then who are you?
I'm Shion Sonozaki, Mion's twin sister. Pleasure to meet you, Oishi-san.
Oishi looked perplexed, like he didn't believe what I'd said. He frowned. I didn't know Mion Sonozaki had a twin sister. Are you trying to fool me?
Not at all. Why don't you check my family register or whatever? Should I call Sis?
All the cops looked bewildered now. Shion Sonozaki?
Yes, that's me.
Is there anything wrong? Can you come with us? If you're testifying that you were with Hojo that night, I have to talk to you too.
Of course. Please go easy on us.
I'm so scared for her. The grandma's gonna do something awful to her. But this makes sense now as to how her identity got revealed and why in the future she's just Shion. The cops gathered at the car and started discussing something. Looked like they never expected this to happen. I hope to be able to fake Satoshi's alibi for at least a little while. It shouldn't be too difficult to talk to Sis about this, then forge up an alibi together. Satoshi, tell them you were chatting with me at Angel Mort that night, no matter what they ask, okay? I'll confirm your alibi. Tell them you don't remember that night clearly, or maybe you just keep silent. Satoshi wore a startled expression. Though I was telling something important, he had apparently decided not to listen. Can you hear me, Satoshi? You can't mess this up, okay? Okay.
He must have been feeling deceived. No wonder. I just confessed I wasn't Neon, but her twin sister. I really had been deceiving him. Are you upset?
Why?
Because I've been fooling you. Satoshi started laughing. I didn't know why he'd laugh. Because he wasn't the type of person who would laugh in order to hide something. I finally understand why you were weird sometimes in class. I'd been thinking it was a bit strange. Aren't you upset that I've been fooling you? Satoshi looked puzzled. It was like he didn't know whether to be upset or not. Or maybe he was only pretending to be that way.
So, this isn't the first time we've met, is it?
Well, yes, that's right.
Okay. How do you write your name?
With the characters of poetry and sound.
Shion. Huh.
Huh?
That's a beautiful name.
Oh.
Could you please come with us to the station? We can get you instant coffee or tea if you like.
He had to say that.